Back on TYT Sports, bold opinions, bolder bow ties, and the boldest of transfer bids to report on in our first story. So shall we get to it, Jason Rubin?
Yeah,
I'm not even going to give you time to answer. I'm going to say yes. Let's get to it. Aubameyang is the person who's on our thumbnail, which means he is the one that's going to lead our story today. And I think I can speak on behalf of all the Borussia Dortmund fans when they say, leave us alone, Pep. You've already done your damage. You did it at Bayern Munich. You won back-to-back-to-back Bundesligas. You took some of our best players. And now he's continuing to take our best players. They already signed Gundogan for Manchester City. And now, according to many rumours, a £65 million bid is being lined up for one of the hottest strikers in Europe. So Aubameyang, as we know, a successful season. Phenomenal, to be said, for Borussia Dortmund. Very fast player who could partner the likes of Sergio Aguero up top. But he's not the only transfer target they're looking at the moment. So Gundogan, of course, already signed for Manchester City. This was a target that was released at the start of the year, according to Sky Sports. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Laporta, who plays his trade at Bilbao, and John Stones for Everton. John Stones, to anyone that he is willing to take him because he's not going to thrive at Everton anymore.
No,
I think
he's a good player.
He's a good player, and he's composed, but again, it's not like he suddenly just vacated Everton and they went downhill from there. He was part of the team that was struggling. He was one of the reasons as well. His form dipped towards the end of the season. Do I think he's got a bright future? Yes. Do I think he would move, it'd be a good fit to Manchester City? Nope. I think that he would be a good fit for maybe a Chelsea, and he could learn from the likes of Gary Cahill and Zuma. But I've stated before, Laporta is a good signing for Manchester City because he is a good player. He's got some experience, but I don't think he's an ideal signing for centre-back. I talked about how Kompany has had 32 injuries this season, how Otamendi has the ability to be decent, but he needs someone to guide him and mature him along the way. Mangala is in a very similar boat and is not that good of a player. They need someone Kompany-esque who's going to come in and be the leader on that team, who's going to take them forward to success, like a Bonucci.
So I'm a firm believer that defense wins championships in all sports, in the history of sports. But given what Manchester City is looking to sign, let's just say, for instance, Aubameyang goes to Manchester City. Even without him, they have the most talented squad in the Premier League.
Yes,
There's really nobody even close. If Manchester City weren't to put up 90 points this season, it would be a goddamn shame.
Yeah.
Because they have Pep Guardiola, so there's no more excuses for Pellegrini. It's Pellegrini's squad. Not Pellegrini's fault anymore. Pep Guardiola is coming in. You'd have, Aubameyang and Aguero up top, which I'm pretty sure outpaces every single top duo in the Premier League. Kevin De Bruyne, arguably the best midfielder in the Premier League, and some people would just have it as outright number one. I'd say after last season, Mahrez was pretty impressive. Granted,
absolutely.
He play in the midfield, he kind of plays both. Here's the funny part. I'm leaving out Silva.
Sterling.
Leaving out Sterling.
And now
their bench is deep. Or their subs.
Yes.
Their subs are deep. So, Manchester City is going to be the team to watch next year too. It's just Pep Guardiola's put an immense amount of pressure on himself to win by a lot.
Yeah.
So goal differential. I want to see goals. We want to see goals.
I mean, first point is on point is Vidal's lines in his head. Very straight, very to the point. Might not look as good, but you're very straight to the point. So good analysis there in terms of the fact that they're just going to be so deep in terms of their squad depth and, of course, talented. And I talked about it on Manchester City's tactics that Pep Guardiola likes to have two strikers, but he doesn't necessarily play them both as strikers. So Aguero, you may see playing through the middle, very similar to what he did with Thierry Henry at Barcelona, David Villa, Thomas Müller, is he might play him off to the right, but have him wander in and become a second striker as they become more versatile. Imagine that. Aguero up top, Kevin De Bruyne, and Aubameyang. Whether you go out and you sign anyone at centre, you sign Jason and me to be your centre-backs, you should still be putting up a good chance in the Premier League with that amount of goals that you should be getting from that front line and with a Gundogan there to anchor your midfield. And I think that many people argue that Gundogan is not necessarily the best defensive midfielder in terms of that's his outright position because he does wander forward at times for Dortmund. He still will adapt his game. There's a reason why Pep Guardiola signs these players. Xabi Alonso and Arturo Vidal, not one of them are like bang-on anchors the way you see Matic or Makelele in his prime. They are versatile. They move. I talked about it on tactics again. That triangle will move in the middle of the park. So he will bring in another midfielder, by the way. I don't think he's confident enough with Fernando or Fernandinho being that next midfield role. He might make a big money move for the likes of Paul Pogba. Whether Pogba would go, that would just make that team the most elite team in the world, in my point of view, if the likes of Pogba was to go.
Why don't they just sign Messi?
Why don't they just sign everyone? Go on and
Suarez,
just buy
Messi,
everyone.
Ronaldo,
Spoil it.
bring in Lewandowski.
Yeah.
We'll just have the world starting 11 on Manchester City.
So as far as the rest of the transfer watch, I mean, these are undoubtedly the main stories. There's rumours that Cresswell, the West Ham fullback, who I rate very highly, is a bid is going to be made for him from Chelsea. And I talked about how this would be a good signing as well for Chelsea. Jamie Vardy has said that he's not making his decision until after the Euros. So we will not know whether Chat Shit Get Banged will be taken from Leicester to London. Very short trip, but who knows?
One of the signs. So some people took me a little bit out of context when it came to Jamie Vardy. And one of the other clips, it's not that I don't want Jamie Vardy to go to Arsenal. I truthfully don't really care where Jamie Vardy goes. It was to exaggerated point about the teams that have so much money. So it's not just Arsenal had the money. It's like PSG has the money, Real Madrid has the money. That was the point.
Yes.
I don't have anything against Arsenal at all. I promise you.
Yeah, and I think that, and as I read through comments as well, a lot of people made the same point, is that he's not in the same boat as a Kante or Mahrez. Like he's an English native, right, which means he's grown up watching the likes of Arsenal win Premier Leagues and watching Manchester City's, and he's won a Premier League with Leicester. Yes, that's him already. He's put his name in the history books, but every player at some point or the other has to admit that they have their own aspirations to play for clubs that they've always been fans of, whether it's an Arsenal or, like, the amount of players, Cristiano Ronaldo's the best example, on top of the world at Manchester United. And he goes and wants to play for Real Madrid because Real Madrid have that name to them. They have the ability that everyone says, I want to play for Real Madrid. So Jamie Vardy, I wouldn't hold it against him whether or not he moves, but I'm anxious to see what his tournament will be like, because I don't think it's ideal to have that decision on your mind when you're trying to focus on England in the Euros. Leicester might need to bring out the wallet and be like, we need to invest much more in Vardy because we need to keep him, or Arsenal will up the price. And maybe he leaves with a fatter checkbook to buy some Blue Wickets and some other
I
stuff.
don't think the parade's even ended in Leicester yet.
It never will.
Still going.
I don't think it will. I don't think it will.